hit the live button, so we'll be. I think we are now. So welcome everyone. We're having more fun than ought to be allowed, but that's okay. Don't worry, citizen. You're safe for now. So this is Paradox. We have a special guest with us today. I'm Dr. Staggs.
I'm Dr. D.
And I am not Dr. Emmy.
But that's okay. You are an expert, one of the foremost experts, in fact, on this particular guest topic. So you have written all sorts of unpublished work, is the word on the street.
That's correct, Dr. Staggs. I have written a 491-page blog on the topic, is colonization on Mars feasible?
Now, before we get into that, how do they keep track of the pages for blogs?
You're asking me like I know.
Right. I think that's phone size, because everyone does it on a phone now.
Right.
I don't have my phone because I'm using it right now, so there's that.
All right, cool. So the title is "Should We Colonize Mars?" Right? And those of you watching, I know you're out there. See you
eventually.
Throw it in the chat. So, should we? Yes or no? It's a yes or no question, right? So,
but is it really that simple? So what are some of the first questions? Well,
it's gonna be a short episode, yes or no, right?
There you go. Could be the shortest episode yet. So what are some of the considerations, especially ones that people have not thought of? Because I mean, obviously, the taking all of the air from planet Druidia is, in fact, the first step. How to trap that around Mars is going to be a little tricky.
Shrink wrap.
Shrink wrap could work. That could happen. So, what are some of the considerations that you came up with? You shouldn't communicate with them while we're on the show, because then people will think that we're part of the conspiracy to promote the globist, keep people as globetards. So that could be a problem.
Please don't use that as a pejorative. Thank you.
Right? Yeah, that's yeah. We should get some T-shirts that say globetards, though, because that would be great.
I would prefer to have it say globe tart, like sweet tart.
Right? Is that like a Trekkie versus Trekker thing? There's some offense in between those two. I don't know. Things rattling around in my head. So, to our special guest, what are some of the considerations that you have come up with in your extensive research on this topic?
Well, I'm sure that nobody's thought of this one yet, but the biggest consideration is how much money you got. I hold that all things are possible with vast amounts of dollars.
I mean, that seems pretty reasonable. Yeah, I can see where it would take a fair amount of money. I mean, really, or it could take Elon Musk sending a tweet, right? Because he could tweet that he's opening up a hot dog stand on Mars, and people would line up around the block to do a pre-order for a hot dog on Mars.
Well, I'm pretty sure that's what the Cybertruck is supposed to be, the first Martian vehicle. Okay?
It could, right? Because we're all going to have to drive Teslas.
Oh.
It could be. I mean, a taco truck really would be more useful. And it's not going to have any greater off-road capability than the Curiosity rover has. So I do have a couple queued up pictures. They actually got a really nice pan of the scenery on Mars. Have you guys ever seen that?
No. I don't believe I have.
It'll be on the stream. I don't know how to easily... I guess I can probably do it over Zoom. So trying things like this live is always the best policy. And so I'm going to go ahead and do this over Zoom the really hard way. First, the key to basically everything that we're doing here. I'm going to jump over to this one, and I'm going to make sure to share with audio. So the first thing is just to understand that we're doing this right now.
resolve has never been stronger.
So we're in a very interesting place right now.
It was temporary though, so it was fine.
Continuing stability.
That's right.
The Republic
So I don't think the video is coming through on.
into the
It's
Galactic Empire.
no, it's not on the live stream, which is curious.
Happened.
I don't know why exactly. So on the live stream, I have to go to screen share because we do have to keep a safe and secure society, and that's where we are right now. Just to keep in mind. So
Does
this
Padme maybe inform us that this is how liberty dies?
yes, it is, but
Definitely not.
But that one is having some issues on playback. This one is probably also a copyright violation.
When the Curiosity rover climbed a ridge and the skies cleared up during Martian winter, we had the chance to take this amazing panorama.
But this is pretty
I'm really
cool.
glad we did.
The real question is, how long did it
Curiosity
take
is inside
the
Gale
artists
Crater, a
to
huge basin
make
made by
this
impactor about
picture up
3.8 billion years ago.
from a bunch of the data that got transmitted
The
through
mountains across the
interplanetary
crater floor are actually
space?
the northern rim of the crater.
and
They rise over a mile above the rover.
then they took that data and then
It's so clear when we took this image.
they
and you
just
can even
like
see a hill
recreate this
outside the crater that
digitally
is 50 miles away.
and make up pictures like it's a video game. So that's the real question.
I love how you can see Peace Valley, a channel that once held a flowing river.
Well, I was pretty sure
like
they
many
were in
others
New
that
Mexico
formed
taking
lakes
these
inside
photos,
Gale Crater.
except that there are no hills that look like that in New Mexico.
This is also the first time we can look back and see everywhere we've been so far in the mission since landing in 2012.
I mean, they do retrace kind of where the
Here's the
rover
path
has
we took.
been.
After
and that's
landing,
kinda cool.
We drove to Yellowknife Bay.
Clearly, this was done by an artist, and this is how you know
Before we
that this
turned
was
southwest
faked.
through Darwin,
And that clearly
Cooperstown,
proves that the Earth
and
is
the Kimberley.
flat. So, one of the other things we'll have to discuss with
The
our
rover
guest
studied
here,
dark, windblown sand at
is
Namib Dune.
how well we can colonize Mars.
Curiosity
if,
then weaved between the Murray Buttes,
all of this is made up,
checked out Ireson Hill,
and that
Well, I
Mars is
think
flat.
obviously
of
we'd
the
have to
Bagnall
install a
Dunes
fence around
before
the
reaching
edge,
the ridge where it sits today
to make
and
sure
caught
people
this
don't
amazing
fall
view.
off that flat end of Mars. I think that's a very real safety concern.
I mean, it is for me. And so the key note there is to aid geologists, colors in the images are white balanced, so that the rocks appear the same color as the rocks would on Earth. So that's why people look at this and they go, oh, well, the whole thing is everything. Boy, wow, it's all fake. It's everything's fake news. It's all fake news. So that becomes problematic for a whole bunch of reasons. So that becomes part of the fun and excitement. So So one of the next questions to ask while I recover the zoom window because it has malfunctions. One of the things to consider is how exactly are we going to make this fence that surrounds...
I'm thinking chain link. I think obviously first we'd have to install a Home
Titanium
Depot
chain
on
link
Mars.
fence would be expensive.
We'll
I mean,
get
that
someone
is-
else to pay for it. Don't worry.
Right? Elon
First-
Musk, all he needs to do
First,
is
we'll put in a Home
tweet.
Depot, and then we can use that to put in the
Listen,
fence. But I'm worried that the Home
the
Depot
Martians
might
are gonna
fall
have to
off
pay
the
for
end
it,
of the
okay?
flat planet if we don't have the fence first.
Maybe we
Look,
can get the Martians to pay for it.
the fence.
I think
I think we
you're
should get
onto
the Martians
something.
to pay for it.
I think you're onto something. Maybe we can use them as slave labor, and they can mine the asteroids, and we can get all the
I mean, they
lithium.
clearly haven't been falling off the end of this planet this whole time, so they clearly have
maybe
the
that's because they're
lesson or two to teach us.
smart enough to know that when they walk up to the edge of the flat Mars and they look over, that means they would fall off into space.
Yeah, but humans don't have that.
There's no
so we
scripture
need to
verses
consider that.
about the evil people on Mars that are in the skirts under the Earth. So we covered that already for some of the flat Earth problems. So we need to solve how to colonize Mars. So all right, so we're gonna have to steal the air from planet Druidia. We're gonna have to put up a fence to keep people from falling off of the flat Mars. And so one of the next questions is, how do we get there since we're under the dome on the flat Earth? That's really...
I was thinking maybe a powered surfboard.
An intergalactic powered surfboard.
Like the Silver Surfer, nice.
I mean, if we just did one motor, that's probably enough. That could be true, because why would we need to get a return trip out of our electric surfboard in space? I don't even know. Okay, so
I think that problem
that is I wonder how much titanium is there on Mars. I don't know offhand the composition of a lot of Martian soil.
There's about 5 titaniums there, so I think we'd be good.
There could be. I'm just thinking of stuff that I mean, it's going to take the Mars rover a long time to get to the edge is the other problem. So I hope it doesn't fall off the edge, because that would be really embarrassing to be the person at NASA that drove off the edge of the flat Mars.
Well, it's because you couldn't do unit conversion.
So,
right, if the problem is that the guidance system works in empirical, but it was programmed metric.
That would be an interesting one. So we probably need to do another episode where we break down why the Mars rover has to be I mean, really, maybe it's actually just cylindrical coordinates because it's a flat Mars, right? Instead of spherical coordinates.
Yeah, we can just do polar. We don't even need a Z.
So
you're saying we're going to do a super interesting podcast about coordinate transformation.
I think it could happen. I think there's a way to make it interesting. I'll have to figure out what that is, but I appreciate the fact that you have found the image of the flat Mars for us.
I found more than that.
Oh, okay.
There is a flat Mars society.
I'm almost afraid to. Oh dear.
Flat Mars society.
There is.
Do they have a flat Mars Bible?
I don't know. That I don't know. I have to. That I need to. Well, at least there's a T-shirt that says flat Mars.
I mean, I would hope so.
There's also a mug. I'm gonna get this mug. Hold on a second.
Oh, hold on. Let me check out with my Amazon cart real quick. I mean, if we're going to be some of the first people living there and colonizing the flat Mars.
I mean, other than the Home Depot employees. Obviously, they have to be first.
Right. Yeah. Now, childcare on Mars could be a problem.
There are also potential Olympians, though, too, because Home Depot Olympians.
So, yeah, I don't know. That creates all sorts of new and interesting challenges, though. Things that I hadn't really carefully thought through. Especially like I mean, trying to get that much fence into a vehicle that we can launch from Earth, that is partially problematic. I haven't figured out how to get, like, I mean, it's smaller than Earth.
You're thinking about it wrong. You're like the Capstone Project. Make the vehicle out of the fence. If you make the vehicle out of the fence, you already have it when you get there. You're not planning on coming back. We already established that. You have the one-way surfboard. The one-way surfboard is made out of the fence.
We can call it defensive driving.
I see what you did there. Okay, so we've got a vehicle made out of fence that we're going to lay out around the flat Mars. Okay, and we're going to steal the air from planet Druidia. So we've got oxygen. The next question is, how are we going to grow things? Because water turns out to be a bit of a problem on Mars.
Maybe for you.
I mean, well,
no, probably for everybody.
Probably for everybody.
So, all right. So, legitimately, I have heard that there might be water on Mars somewhere, right? Is that the theory?
I
The
mean,
running theory?
There's some images that people have speculated might be ice on Mars, maybe.
But ice doesn't have to be, right? Like, they don't know what kind of ice it is, right?
would
They don't
be
know if
interesting if it turned out to be actually
hydrogen-
crystallized. Right,
hydrogen
crystallized. I would estimate more likely something like a solid methane or something of that sort. If there were some extremely cold temperatures at those polar regions, but then again, that also all of that stuff generally demonstrates that Mars has to be flat, right? Because the part that's farther away from the sun in the middle there, where your head is cold, right? And so we just drill there until we find stuff. So we're gonna need some really big drills. Can we get an oil rig sent up to Mars?
I don't see why not.
Again, this is all. So you have to remember,
Because we know that it's experiencing global warming.
End of the 1990s.
So maybe there's already early
documentary,
oil rigs.
about a crew from an oil rig that is trains to go into space to stop asteroids. This was a documentary film. Bruce
Yeah.
Willis and Ben Affleck. Okay.
I think I remember this
Wait, was this Mission
documentary.
to Mars?
No.
Okay.
So it was called Armageddon.
Oh yes. Okay.
Right, I forgot. Yeah.
Documentary. Documentary.
Yeah, they made a
Okay.
spoof film off of that called Space Cowboys.
Exactly. So there's precedent. There's historical precedent for sending an oil rig crew into space. Again, we'll just make the spaceship. We'll make the shuttle out of the oil rig. Done.
Yeah. I mean, that's
Done.
because space
It will have enough oil on it to power it to get there.
space doesn't care about the shape of the object as much, right? Space is not offended by
Which is why
high
when you
form
watch-
drag.
Which is why when you watch Star Trek movies where they're in space building, there was a reason why they build the Star Trek spaceships in space. Right?
Yeah. I mean, I think the ones that actually, out of all of the species in everything, the ones that actually understand how space works seem to be the Borg out of everybody.
I thought you were gonna say the whatever Admiral Akbar is. I forget his name.
Oh, yeah,
That's not Star Trek.
I don't know. I don't know.
It doesn't matter. I know I'm gonna offend the entire internet, but it doesn't matter. Really.
Well, that's how you get
It's Mon
views.
Calamari.
And
Thank you.
yeah, there you go. So, all right. So we're gonna need. I mean, we could definitely use an Admiral Akbar type to direct the oil rig.
Actually, I think he could also stand there for places that don't have the fence yet and tell people it's a trap so that they don't
could.
fall off.
He could. I like this. Or so he could make a bunch of cardboard likenesses of him all around the perimeter of Mars, and maybe that's our fence. Is just all of Admiral Akbar's saying it's a trap. Maybe we could do that.
I think that'd probably be more cost effective than the chainmail idea, and we wouldn't need nearly as many Home Depots.
That's true. You would only need one and all of the cardboard that Earth can produce for probably a few years. But it's a small sacrifice, really, for an important cause. So, okay. So we've got the fence figured out. That seems pretty logistically tight.
Which the Martians will pay for.
Yes, the Martians will pay for that because.
Oh, by the way, in the chat, I have a list going of the things that we need to colonize Mars.
Okay.
Fence to stop people falling off.
Yeah.
Air, water,
Yes.
Home Depot. Admiral
Yes.
Akbar.
Okay, Admiral Akbar. All right. So what are some of the other things? I'm sure there's some stuff we're missing here. What was some of the other stuff that your research turned up on this topic?
Yeah, so I was thinking for food that obviously it's just going to be like algae in Cliff Bar form. I think that's the most reasonable way to go. We'll ship along protein powder packs and a new algae flavor made by Cliff Bar.
Okay.
It'll come in nice little foil packages that are
Oh.
totally recyclable.
Nice.
Here's just a
So we can take all that aluminum and forge it into new parts and shelters. I like
I
it.
think we should upcycle. We'll bring it along in the aluminium foil, along in the pack, so we have it ready to go there on Mars, and then we can make amazing machinery with it.
Now, does it have to be algae flavored? Can it be made of algae and taste like something that is not?
I mean,
Now, granted, I
That's
haven't
just gross, though.
now I haven't eaten a lot of algae, but I'm imagining that it's not.
raw
Imagining it's
algae
salty.
is
I'm
I mean,
not.
don't knock it till you've tried it.
It's raw algae is it tastes like a freshwater flipper. That
Have you ever
you're
been to
like-
a
like
you're
really,
eating?
really cheap sushi place?
Like from the gas station?
Yeah.
like if you were to eat gas station sushi because you made poor life choices to that degree, that probably would be very similar to the experience, because that sort of semi-toxic, like salty flavor that stings your tongue a little bit when you eat it, that's generally all the metabolic off products of the bacteria and stuff growing that you probably really shouldn't ingest. So
No,
that's
they're pretty good for you.
I mean, it's good for generating immune response. It does work a little bit as an adjuvant, so there's that.
Bless you.
But yeah, it's an interesting paradigm. Okay, so we can probably do some sort of compressed algae. I mean, really. We could also probably send up some of the compressed sawdust energy bars that they put in some of the MREs, or at least used to.
I mean, we have Soylent in this day and age. I don't think there's any reason not to just use Soylent.
We do. That's true, and I guess that's the dry weight is a lot less to get to Mars. But the question is, I mean, that's
all the people that you're bringing with you. Can
But
provide
that's-
you with more.
that's
later
dependent.
on.
Well, so that's the other part, right? Is the
Sustainable.
yeah. So the ones that we want to go to start digging some of the trenches to start getting the water from the polar ice caps are like the Pelosi types, right? Because somebody has to go to Mars with a shredder so that they can shred all of the documents and the records, right? So
Yeah,
Okay,
Kyle,
so-
I think in the show notes for this one, you need to link offend the entire internet. I think is what you need to link.
I mean, I can keep trying, or I can start trying. But
Wait, so we're talking about cannibalizing the people that come with us to Mars, and you're worried that talking
Only
about
the other
Nancy
people.
Pelosi with the shredder will be the thing that offends the
No,
internet?
I just
we
just
live in
wanted
a
to
strange
make sure,
age.
I just wanted to make sure that we
who else haven't we picked
really,
on?
we really
we
make
haven't
sure
we haven't
anybody
picked
who
on
wants
the
to be offended just watches this video.
right, has the opportunity. I mean, that's the way to do it in the description, is to hit all of those, because I mean, they give you 5,000 characters, for crying out loud, in the description. So you can make a lot of people angry with 5,000 characters. Twitter, like, you can almost start a war with 160. So there's that.
Would there really be any deficiencies from a person who just survives off eating other people? I think this is an interesting question. Like,
Well,
could you sustainably do
there's
that?
all sorts of prion type diseases and disorders that come out of that, including you start to kind of get the shakes a little
Yeah,
bit.
there's neurological.
There's a lot of neurological
Yes, I
problems.
understand that you can get quite a lot of diseases from touching a human brain, for example, but
Yeah, prion diseases, especially if that person was older, like Nancy Pelosi, and had a little bit of Alzheimer's, because they had forgotten some things, and they have the plaques, and they still haven't quite decided whether the plaques are good or bad. But you know, that's a thing that she's forgotten some simple things, like you don't shred the president's speech while he sit behind him on camera. And stuff like that.
Okay, so what I'm hearing is that we should actually cannibalize the children.
No, because they're I mean,
But I believe the children are our future.
that's
Well, and obviously not all of them. We have them take a standardized test. If you can
that's-
convert your units, then you're spared. And if not, you go to the food
is that the test? Yeah, I think it's important to be able to draw the distinction between whether or not you can do unit conversions, and so there are a lot of our students that would not make the grade there, which is unfortunate. So. Yeah.
It's for the greater good. I mean, we got to eat.
So what are some of the other things? If water is going to be a limited resource, can you do hydroponics to grow your own material for making Soylent?
So are you thinking hydroponics with like tilapia fish type, or are you talking
So
about
that
just
would be
aquaponics?
aquaponics, right?
Okay, we're talking just pure.
If I understand right, and so I'm talking about just the hydroponics, not the full blown like ecosystem, but maybe on Mars the full blown ecosystem makes more sense, right?
Well, the problem is that it's not a closed loop with the fish, because the fish can't actually survive off the same lettuce or whatever it is you're growing with your aquaponics system.
Right.
So we would still need to import fish food. Although, to be fair, I think Home Depot could probably sell us that, so we'd probably be okay.
Right.
Well, could it be fish survive on the soil?
I mean, maybe fish can fly on Mars. I don't know for sure. I mean, the gravity is less.
That was a poor voice change. Sorry. Can they survive on the soil?
Flying fish, they'll go over the fence.
That could also be so we'll need a bunch of people that like fishing to do fly fishing to catch the flying fish on the flat Mars. I mean, what? This is a simple
Flat
problem,
Mars is ridiculous.
and so flat Mars is going to have a lot of
Earth
jobs
makes sense.
for
Flat Mars is ridiculous.
Flat Mars is so confusing, but this
Bullock would love it.
economy is going to be great for fly fishing.
I don't think fly fishing is what you think it is.
No, I'm pretty sure fly fishing is the only way to catch flying fish, because if you try regular fishing, it's not going to work.
I mean, the problem is the altitude for fly fishing.
I mean, I don't know that anybody lassos fish, right?
You take
That could be a problem.
dirigible up into the clouds and you cast your line into the cloud, because the cloud is just water vapor.
Wait, is this
and you get
dirigible
the cloud fish.
steampunk themed?
Yeah.
Okay, I can see it. I can see it. The question is, how does copper do on Mars? I mean, it's a fairly
segue.
dry climate, right? So the reason I'm asking is so much of the technology from the alternate past is derived from
steampunk,
brass
gotcha.
and copper. Yeah.
I think it should be fine. I think it should be fine. You just have, as with anything, you just need to.
So
Any metal, you need to polish it and take care of it.
some of the other questions that come to mind then are, is gravity on the flat Mars the same thing as gravity on the flat Earth, where it's basically just a construct of electromagnetism that all the scientists have had wrong this whole time?
No, because what you're not remembering is that I don't subscribe to that theory of flat Earth gravity. My theory of flat Earth gravity is that the Earth is moving upward constantly at an acceleration of 32.2.
Right. I forgot.
Right.
You're on the spinning footstool, the hurtling through space model.
So it's not the Earth is fixed and it's just moving up. Okay.
Oh, right. The other things
it's not
swirl.
spinning. If it's
The other things
spinning-
swirl around it, but the Earth is the flat Earth stool is
Right.
fixed
And so
on its four
flat
pillars.
Mars just moves parallel upward to the flat Earth. They're both accelerating upward in relation to each other, right, in parallel paths. However, the gravity is different.
How do we see
I need to
different?
work this out. How this
Right.
relative works out.
So, but the question I haven't figured out right is, how do we see different faces of Mars through the telescopes
I've never.
if Mars is
It's a
flat?
planet, Kyle. It can't have a face. It it's a planet.
Right, because all
Sound
planets
ridiculous.
are flat, and we just have been lied to. So
I think you're just projecting a human face there. I think that's, there's like a name for that condition.
yeah.
I would like you to notice right here in this picture, in the flat Earth, in the flat Mars diagram, we've drawn a round
A globe Earth. Yeah, see, this is why it wasn't drawn by an expert.
Unless it's flat.
It's flat. It's turned towards you.
Well,
that's all.
but the flat
Mars.
But if they're it would have to be, right? Because then if you turn it this way and you look at it like you would have to, then Mars would make more sense, right? The flat Mars, because it would be oblique to your viewing angle always.
We're just solving things.
So the good news is we've solved that problem. What's some of the other ones?
What you're missing also with the gravity, staying on the gravity for thing, what you're missing is that the flat Earth moves in one direction, but the flat Mars actually rotates around the flat Earth. Okay, the flat Earth is the center of everything.
So it's still so it would have a varying
it has its own sun
centripetal acceleration all to itself. So, man, how does poor little Curiosity
ESP 360? This is the new final project.
Working model of the flat Mars.
You have to figure out how flat Mars would work with gravity. So.
Wait, but this is good news for us as far as the fence goes, because if you were like on a roller coaster ride and it was shooting you around and then all of a sudden the back of your roller coaster fell out, you'd actually keep accelerating tangentially. So what that means is that it would be impossible for you to walk off the end of flat Mars.
No, but you could jump from one side to the other, the way he's describing this rotation cycle. So that would be interesting, because we know that gravity is less on Mars, but because
in the chat there was a very interesting point brought up. Oi said that that's where Mars bars are, right? So we're thinking of this over too much, right? The food thing is taken care of already because Mars candy bars are already there.
Okay,
the factory.
That could be so. That would help explain why they sell mostly air by mass in their products, because that cuts down on their shipping costs. So I mean, that tracks, right?
I mean, unless you've got Amazon Mars Prime,
then the shipping is absurd, right? Yeah, I was looking at something with shipping from Ireland today and almost had a heart attack, because it was a lot. Yeah.
Was it the Darth Vader screen painting?
No, it was not. But I do need some sort of thing to cover up the Vader armor that's being built behind me. Just don't worry about it. It's fine. So the question is, how do I make it fight the buoyancy that's creating the gravitational force on the flat Mars? That's the real question, because that's one of the alternates for the flat Earth justifications, right? Is that buoyancy accounts for some of the force that's experienced.
Yeah.
I haven't figured out the units on that.
I'm going to be honest with you. I'm not really prepared to discuss all these theories. I have an article coming out in Nonsense Science Monthly next month. That's where
you're going to put all the arguments. Okay, well, that's fair. I think I'm trying to think of what other considerations we still have remaining. So
you're trying to poach my work. Okay?
What about the radiation? I don't know.
So the radiation. I mean,
look, I don't believe in radiation.
Most of the radiation comes from the government facilities, right? So
that's true. We wouldn't have 4G up there, so I guess we wouldn't need to worry about a lot of illnesses that have been caused by 4G phone networks.
Could we run like a really, really, really long fiber optic, do you think?
Yeah, I think that's doable. Actually, we could use that as a zip line for future surfboards.
Yeah, I mean that would make sense. That would make sense. So if we could zip line back and forth, that would be pretty great. But that would turn into be like a pretty massive bundle. Nice. I like it, being able to do designer artwork. That's good.
Look, guys. Again, you're missing it, right? Just get a Wi-Fi repeater. You'll be fine. Okay.
Right. I just you're probably gonna need, maybe we could just do like they did in Stargate and just drop a bunch of Wi-Fi repeaters with batteries between here and there. It'll be fine, right?
I mean, Stargate's another great documentary if you want to learn about extraterrestrial.
The truth about the Egyptians and what they're actually really hiding over there.
No joke. I told you this, Kyle. My PhD advisor is featured on an episode of Ancient Aliens.
I mean, the Ancient Aliens connection there is really good, but we're not supposed to tell people that there's any connection to Ancient Aliens, because that could be a conflict of interest if we're the ones that people are going to come to with their funds to prep for the colonization mission on Mars, right? So we need to try and keep the conflicts of interest like that under wraps.
Yeah, so far I think we just need sponsorships from Mars Bars and Home Depot. Is that what I'm understanding? And Soylent.
We're also going to need to sell tours of the Mars Bar factory. So we're going to have to negotiate some things. So we're going to need some PR folks.
I got an idea. What if we put 6 golden tickets inside of them? I almost did it. I almost got it through that.
That's a good idea, though. I think it's possible. And then they can go see the factory, and people just keep buying the bars, and it could be a sponsorship campaign. We could probably get Michael Phelps on there, because he's clearly not going to be swimming for any big major events. So let's see, who else can we get? Nobody needs car insurance, so Shaq's not doing commercials for the General. So I think we could get him on there. And I mean, how cool would it be to tour? The trouble, though, with trying to do a guided tour by Shaq is all the Martians are really short. So the facility, like, he'd have to crawl in like on his hands and knees, right? And so it just wouldn't be very dignified. So this could be a problem.
We are not short. How dare you?
That's transmission overlay from our sponsors.
Well, I mean, should we really send people to other planets that aren't able to crawl on their hands and knees through ventilator ducts? I think if Star Trek has taught us anything, it's
That's
that
an
it is
important place
really
to
important
hide.
for safety reasons
Not
to
only
be able
that,
to do this.
Everything.
True.
Right? You've got Star Trek. You've got Empire Strikes Back. Okay? You've got Alien. Aliens. Alien 3.
Not to mention
much all of the Alien movies.
every sci-fi video game ever made, right?
Right, so I think
24.
there's a precedent set. Like, if you can't crawl through a ventilator duct, it is not safe to send you to Mars.
That's true. So we can only send children to Mars. This is going to be problematic. They would fit
Especially
nicely in
after
the
we eat
factory, but the problem is going to be if the Martians turn around and incentivize child labor, right? And so then they're making our candy bars for us. So I'm pretty sure, I don't know, are there laws?
Well, I mean, they should really be only used to make the fun size one.
I think that's inequitable. Yeah, that's
I mean,
a good rule.
those are not as hard to make, right? And so I think
more
that's
fun.
reasonable.
And it's
So-
kind of like an apprenticeship thing. Like, you start off, you make the fun size ones, and then
Then you get to graduate to
Nobody's
get
eating
to
it.
get the real one.
eventually, when you are a master, you make
Right.
the king size one.
There you go, right? So
Wait, what are
and
we
that
going to do
a
for
diff-
currency on the
It's a
topic
different
of
quenching technique.
currency. Oh, that's a
yeah,
hard
on the
one.
topic of
Because
child
we
labor?
we do have to figure out how to start an economy up there that
In the
interfaces
chat,
cleanly with the Martians.
Boy would like to know how, first of all, how we plan to leave our homes because of the lockdown in order to get to Mars. And
Okay.
secondly, would like to inform us that all the Mars missions have been shelved.
So sneaking out in the dark of night is a good call for
No,
the
but
first
that's when
part.
the COVIDs come out.
Well, I mean, but the helicopters, they aren't using the IR thermal cameras right now. They're only using like the regular cameras. So they're not doing. I mean,
secretly doing.
So we don't have to coat ourselves in mud like in Predator.
Well, I mean, that's
not-
probably just you should do it anyway.
not
I
yet.
agree. I think it's a good precaution.
But yeah, so if we can develop a low IR signature suit, then we can sneak out without being noticed in the quarantine. So we could basically call it like a Chinese stealth suit, and that would be
Probably
pretty
shouldn't
great.
Call it a Chinese stealth suit. That's probably not a good idea.
I mean, they might assume that it already has COVID, so that so maybe just a stealth suit.
COVID stealth suit.
That could work. That could be marketable. Is that trademarked? Let's look that up. So okay, so we're gonna need a cooling suit to drop our IR signature and make us look dead, and then we can sneak out. The question is, how do we commandeer
Anybody taking
a UFO?
That's the proposal right there.
Right, that could be. How do we commandeer a spacecraft from Area 51 since the raid got canceled? Because we're gonna need to reinvigorate the raid to get enough distraction going on that we can sneak in the other gate, and then get in and get a spacecraft with our stealth suits so they can't pick us up on the IR cameras. See where this is headed?
I do, and I appreciate you bringing that up. Right, I had a lot of students fall semester who were very interested in this Area 51 raid, and I think that I could get them to hop back on board. They're probably not doing anything really important right now.
Probably
well, I think the
not
Area
right now.
51 employees are probably working from home anyway.
I mean,
No, because they're deemed essential.
right. It's
Why do we even need to go to Area 51? I think most UFO
We have to
sightings
pick up
are
a
over a
ride.
trailer park in Alabama. I think we should start
we have to pick
there.
up our ride, and we have to get Admiral Akbar. Those are the two things.
Yeah.
That are there that I need.
the question is we
Admiral
don't know.
Akbar is number 5 on the list.
Right, he is number 5 on the list. What is the cooling suit? The cooling stealth suit. Where is that on the list?
That is number 7 right now.
Okay. Because that's going to require a little bit of invention and creativity. It's going to need to be a little more sophisticated
No,
than
I know, guys.
aluminum foil bubble wrap.
So another documentary that I watched once. There was this guy who, old scientist guy who actually befriended a high school student, and they made a time machine out of a DeLorean. We could potentially use that technology.
So I know a guy that builds those DeLoreans, and so we can get a hold of one of those DeLoreans. I just don't know how that's going to help us get to Mars. Maybe we can go back in time before IR cameras, and then we don't need
Before
the
the
stealth
quarantine.
suits. So it'll be before the
Now we
quarantine,
found it.
and it'll be before the other things, and so we can go back in time, and then all the time it'll take us to get to Mars, we'll kind of get back, right? I'm pretty sure that's how that works.
The
and
7
so-
Prime DeLorean outfitted with flux of path.
Yes, I like where this is headed, because then we can go back in time before the level of security sophistication where it was a bunch of dudes with flashlights and M16A2s. And so long as you're wearing, they probably weren't using API rounds at that point in time, and so that
Right now,
probably could work.
let's make a pact right now. If the time travel plan works, at exactly 10:10 p.m., which is in a few seconds probably, we will send a signal letting us know that it works. We'll see what happens at 10:10.
Growing up, in the Star Wars original trilogy,
No, not the right signal. I tried.
I gotta see. It's not time yet.
I don't know. It's on the, Oh. No, was that it? is there?
I just sneezed. Was that a signal?
I don't know. I don't know.
I
That
think
could
it
be a
might
problem.
have, guys. I think that means we figure it out.
I think we get it figured out. Well, the good news is we solve this in the future, so we're just gonna have to figure out what the easiest way to get a hold of a DeLorean is, because I think one of those screen accurate ones is, I think you can end up spending something on the order of 35 grand on one of those. So it's expensive.
Now, I'd rather go the Spaceballs route. And put the. So, all right. So here's. I know we're slightly off topic, and I apologize. Okay, but
I mean, we're still trying to figure out how we can colonize Mars.
So here's my question. Wouldn't it? So is the flux capacitor? You could put that in any car we want, right? Assuming that we can hit 88 miles. Right?
Well, no. So the problem is you've got to have the 1.21 gigawatts, right?
Right, but that comes from plutonium.
That comes from plutonium, or that comes from Mr. Fusion.
Right.
And so the lightning bolt is dangerous.
Car? Like, can we just put this in a Pinto?
I'd rather have like a Winnebago or something.
So you also have to have the stainless steel exterior, though, because of some of the extreme temperatures involved in time travel. That's why it always comes out as in a subliming state, because all of that
what if you
moisture
just travel back somewhere cold,
in the air.
though?
I mean, if you travel back somewhere cold, you're going to have to deal with the de-icing problem. That all the Iron Man fans will know well. So that's going to be problematic. If you travel back somewhere warm, so if we go back to Egypt, maybe we can commandeer one of those ships when they came to visit the first time. Because we know now
this is 200 IQ now.
Now we're cooking with propane. See, because if we go back there and we have a squad of dudes with MP5s, we can take out all those suckers and take the ship, right? And you don't have to mess with any of the stuff with the ancient gene. You just drag around one of the dead guys with his hand and swipe at all the doors, and it'll just open for you. And so I think that'll work. You just can't let them get in the sarcophagus thing.
I think that's the easiest way to do this.
I think it is. So we drive the DeLorean back to Egypt. We're just going to have to get the year really, really exact. How good are you guys at the hieroglyphics?
Well, after reading our student handwriting, I think all of us are pretty good at that.
I wouldn't say that I'm fluent, but
I'm just gonna have to brush up on the Stargate symbols, right? So one gold ship will do pretty nicely
about Daniel Jackson
for getting to Mars.
Why don't we just bring our phones with the Google Translate app, and then we'll just hold it over the hieroglyphics, guys?
I mean, that could work. I feel like Farscape did a better job of dealing with the translation problems. You just get injected with nanites, and then they do the translating for you.
I mean, honestly,
and then all the species speak English.
All of our
weirdly,
problems happen with nanites, right? Nanites solve. That's another episode.
No, I think that's number 8. I think that's both 8 and 8 prime.
It's actually 9.
Or is it 9?
Yeah,
okay, 9 is nanites. I like where this is going. Or yeah, 8 is the de-icing problem. Right. So 9 definitely is nanites, and so maybe the nanites can convert.
Well, that probably solves the de-icing problem, though. Also.
Maybe the nanites so maybe the nanites should be. So we need to reverse that. The nanites should be 8, and then the de-icing problem probably solved by probably by the nanites, and then maybe we can even do the nanites to start metabolizing the silicon in the Martian soil. And then if they can run off of the nanites that run off of silicon, that's really important. They need to be able to consume the silicon to replicate themselves. And so then we can turn Mars into one giant replicator planet, because that went really great in Stargate. Yeah. So they couldn't even tell that it was a replicated planet. So there's that until it was too late. That's right. So
Just don't open the Stargate if there's a black hole.
Yeah, that one's pretty bad. It's pretty bad.
So I had to change one.
We might need a couple
one
atomic
is money.
bombs.
This is
so
going to cost a lot of capital, as we said in the beginning. So
yeah,
hit up the Patreon.
yeah. So the Patreon link will be
PayPal
below.
me.
That's right. And so we should probably also
Venmo.
do a Kickstarter, right?
Yeah.
We should probably do a Kickstarter for this.
Sadly enough, I feel like we could probably get a couple $100 on a Kickstarter.
And the only thing we would need to give our Kickstarter legitimacy would be a tweet from Elon Musk, who I know will be listening one day, about he's going to open the hot dog stand on Mars, and he's going to do it just outside the Mars Bars factory, where we're going to have Shaq doing tours. So I think this is a great marketing campaign, and I think we can sell a lot of people on it. That's what I think.
Get Mr. T?
I don't know.
That's even better. Yeah. I bet we could.
I don't know. That could be hard. That could be hard.
You know what would be easiest is the guy who did the voice acting for Jar Jar Binks. We could probably get him.
I think they just pulled some guy off the street for that one.
Yeah, I did. How has he not been shot by now?
Because they don't know who he is. He doesn't talk like that.
Right, nobody can recognize him. Yeah, they probably used a surname for his screen credits.
Can we just get the ShamWow guy? I think he could sell our tours for us.
I thought
Might
he was
work.
dead.
No, you're thinking about Billy Mays, the OxyClean guy.
Oh,
Yeah.
That's right, the ShamWow.
No, I think the
one that
ShamWow
bit-
guy is
that
still
bit a
alive. It's just he
prostitute.
did jail time. But I think he's out now.
Upstanding, fine, upstanding gentleman.
He can come along and tell everybody that the Germans made the good stuff at the Mars Bars factory.
So I think there was a death hoax for Mr. T not long ago.
Well, I pity the fool who believes that.
I think he pitied the fool too, and so, yeah.
Him and Kim Jong-un.
Yeah, so it seems like based on a couple of highly credible internet sources, that's a fake. So that's the good news is we might be able to have Mr. T.
Cite it, but could you cite those internet sources in a laboratory?
Probably.
Either way, I think we can go ahead and put Mr. T as number 10 on the list.
Yeah, I think so.
If Mr. T / the ShamWow guy, if Mr. T is busy that day.
Right. Yeah. I think we're onto something, because really it's all going to come down to be marketing, and if we can somehow turn this into an independent show on YouTube, then we can get the views, and then the ad revenue might total up to be $23 per like 10,000 views, and so that's
we could buy at least 6 Mars Bars with that.
we could buy at least 6 Mars Bars. So that's
Thanks, Michael. Appreciate it.
that's still a little short of some other things that we need to do. All right. So, are there any other considerations that has been turned up in our research that we haven't been able to cover yet?
I feel like that was a very thorough, insightful, like well thought out business plan there for colonizing Mars.
I think so. I mean, we're trying.
Just to recap, right? Because the list was good, but the list is a little convoluted now. So let's just recapping our plan. Right?
Where are we?
We started off with the idea of the first thing that we need is money, right? That's 100%. We need the money. To do
Yes.
We were going to build a fence, but then we determined that we need more investigation to determine what the gravity actually is, the gravity situation. Because if there is a centripetal force that is pulling everything back towards the center,
I mean, if it's spinning like this as a disk through space, then the centripetal force is completely different than it would be for a normal disk object.
so essentially, we have this rotating frame problem, right? Where we have to solve. So
We are gonna have to solve
table
that.
the fence. Yeah, I got it. I already solved it. It's we'll get into that's going to be in my
It's 5.
paper
The
next
answer is
month
5. We
in
solved it.
Fake Science Month.
Right.
All right. So that's the fence thing. We're
I should
tabling,
own
right?
Fake Science Monthly. That'd be amazing.
All right. So then after we talked about the fence for a bit, that we need air, we need water, we need a Home Depot for building supplies. Admiral Akbar, but now if we're not having a fence, Admiral Akbar was really to stop people from going over the edge of the planet, right? Because we've determined that Mars is a flat Mars, right? We are all flat Marsers. Okay? Flat Mars. Flat
Keeps-
Marsers. That's what we're gonna
Right. We're gonna have to work on the name for the club for that.
It's fine.
It doesn't flow very well.
Just so people
Flat
remember,
Marsians? Does that work? I don't know.
so
We're gonna have to
people
work on
see
that.
This is a very scientific here. This is very scientific here. Right. This photograph of what Mars looks like. That's
Right.
from the Hubble telescope.
Right. That one's not done by fake artists at NASA.
That was not done. This photo was not done in Microsoft. I guarantee you, 100%.
No. Definitely not.
All right. So air, water, Home Depot, Amr Akbar, food. Right. And for food, we said compressed algae bars that taste like algae, and soylent. Right? Those were the 2 food sources. We talked a little bit about hydroponics for growing said algae. Right. Then we got into the cooling stealth suit, which brings us to the discussion that we were just most recently having. Because how are we going to get out of quarantine, right? And we needed the cooling stealth suit to get out of quarantine. But we determined that it was a better option to get the DeLorean from the acclaimed documentary Back to the Future. It was built by Dr. Emmett Brown and his high school student sidekick, Martin McFly, back in the 80s. And so we're going to get one of those. We're going to actually do a little bit of research. We're going to see if we can retrofit another vehicle with a flux capacitor. But then, if we're time traveling, we needed to solve the de-icing problem. And to that end, we determined that nanites would probably just be right? Because now the idea is, instead of doing all this, we talked about the colonization up front, but how do we get there, right? The plan to get there is now we are going to travel back in time to ancient Egypt, steal one of the pyramid ships, right? And
I mean, it's a solid plan, and they won't be expecting it.
And the nanites are going to help us translate and basically solve all the other problems that we have.
Right. It's I mean, that's what a plot device is, right? It's a thing that gets you from one place to another, and solves a lot of problems.
I forgot. There's the whole idea of the Mars bars factory there. That was part of the food discussion as well. The Mars bars factory is already there, and in order to kind of gain some support here, the Mars bars factory has indeed agreed to put 6 golden tickets randomly. Again, the whole thing. I can't do the. I can't do this whole part.
You were doing great there. You were doing great.
You just left this part off.
Maybe we could hide the 6 golden tickets in the stimulus checks.
Oh. Excellent.
That could be interesting. But we're going to need all the stimulus checks for the second round to fund this.
I had a student who read this article to me before the final quiz in one of my classes, and he starts off with Florida couple. So just so you know where this is going. Florida couple was arrested for selling golden tickets to heaven. So yeah, so check that out. Type that into your computer. And see
Did they
what pops
did they
up.
did they happen to
We'll link it-
go
we'll
to the
link it in
same
the description.
the same church as oh, what's his name? I've used a bunch of his stuff. Kenneth Copeland. Did they go to Copeland's church? Because that would make a lot of sense. I mean, he did call for a hot south wind to blow the virus away. And the hardest part
And
of
there
that whole
hasn't
thing,
been a single virus case in Florida since.
right? The thing that's amazing is all the people that have made songs and remixes of that, and that's going to be the theme of 2020 is going to be Kenneth Copeland. So apparently, all you have to do to become a calendar year, to represent an entire calendar year, is to blow away a virus. And have a chorus of people that are not sure what's going on.
This is a good way of really getting this message out.
I think it is to all 6 people that will ever see it. So I'll do my best with keywording, but you can only do so much. But if it gets shared, right, hit that like button, like, comment, subscribe.
Flat Mars is real.
Do all the things for the Flat Mars Society. So I need to include Flat Mars in more ways, and hashtags and fun stuff. So I can do that after the video goes up.
I have definitive proof right behind me. Flat Mars.
I mean, it's important to have
Can't argue with the
photographic
picture.
evidence, right? So, all right. Is there
has its
anything
own
else
sun,
that
people.
we want
It has
to?
its own sun.
Are there any other facts that we've missed or key things that we need to incorporate for the
In fact,
benefit of the viewers?
Such a weird word.
Right? Whose fact? What kind of
Yeah,
fact?
facts is a very loaded word.
It's a very strong word that I'm not
Yeah.
really willing to use it. Let's say factoids. I do. All right. So honestly, I do think there is a little bit of. We went down some roads that were there's kernels of truth here and there, sprinkled. Mainly the compressed algae bar is really the only thing that. Really,
That could be problematic. That could be problematic. So, I don't know. We'll work on getting
So, look, if
the
you
Mars
were
tours
looking-
occupied.
Occupy Mars. Occupy.
I like it. We could
if you
do
were looking.
Occupy Mars
You
would
were
be a great
looking for
hashtag.
a highly scientific, proven video that this is 100-day plan to colonize Mars, right? Sorry, but I hope you were entertained. If you made it this far,
You're
No,
probably
nobody
a
made
rock
it
star.
this far.
good on you.
No, there's actually concurrent viewers on the stream, so that's
I'm
helpful.
so sorry.
But that's okay. The good news is they could be doing
I'll
a lot
see- that's-
less crazy things than listening to this on a Friday night during lockdown. So, what else are you going to do but figure out how to occupy Mars? Got to do what you got to do,
Hashtag, look, spread it out on your social media. Hashtag Occupy.
right? Right.
Hashtag Flat Mars.
There you go.
Yeah. Flat
We're
Mars.
gonna-
Occupy Flat Mars.
That's right.
The whole thing.
All of them. All
Waste
the.
all
the
150
hashtags.
characters just doing hashtags about Flat Mars.
I like it.
You won't be sorry.
I like it.
You won't.
No, I'm 100% going to
Maybe
do that
you
for
will.
this
I
video
don't- I can't, yeah.
because I gotta make sure that it's searchable and findable and all those things.
This needs to be seen by everybody.
It does. It does. So yeah, it's interesting. I think
Michael, we
Michael.
don't need a Home
Michael's-
Depot to take Mars.
That's right.
Okay, we don't need a Home Depot to take Mars. We need
There's
need it there
there's
so
a
that
whole-
we have building supplies when we get there.
There's a whole
Well, what about
progression.
an Ace Hardware?
Well, they're too
I mean,
expensive.
Ace Hardware would be good.
But if you needed more bolts than Home Depot could supply, that could be a problem.
But I think Ace Hardware would be cheaper if it had to compete against Home Depot on Mars.
I mean,
Probably just get like a mom and pop local hardware store.
they could.
Yeah.
They could. They could. I don't know. All right. Well, do we have any final tips for the or final questions and arguments?
Parting words.
Any final thoughts we want to leave them with?
That's because, as you see behind me, we've got Demos and Phobos here. I can't point at them because
It's difficult and they disappear and yeah.
Yeah. So as you can see behind me here, it's not very well known, and NASA is hiding this. These two moons are actually made purely of dilithium crystals. And that is how we power everything.
There you go.
Okay? Everything.
There you go. The trick is because they're spinning around. The trick is how to attach the really long cable to transmit the power.
I'm thinking like a lasso.
I mean, the lasso of justice could do it. So
Of truth, yeah.
So we should. I mean, I've seen that done with L-glow wire, and so I think it's possible. It's possible. So, well, looks like we're having some buffering related issues at the moment. So this is probably a reasonable point to end. For those that have stuck around for longer than 5 minutes, thank you. For those that have come and found this by complete accident, hopefully you've learned something important.
Thank you.
Go back through all of the key factors that we're going to need and see if we missed anything.
In the chat in one form or another.
That's right. In the chat down below, make sure to let us know all the things we messed up and all the things we missed, and that'll help us to figure out
I don't think
what to
we
do in the
messed up
future.
anything, but
Pretty flawless. I would say, just as parting words here, to answer the question in the title, should we colonize Mars? Probably. I'm going to give you the engineering answer. Probably. We probably should. Can we do it, and will it happen in my lifetime? I'm going to say no.
That's right, but mostly because Elon Musk isn't going to respond to your tweets, and that's really what it comes down to. Is we need Elon Musk to tweet that he's going to open a hot dog stand on Mars next to the Mars Bars factory, so that when we're doing tours with Mr. T and maybe Shaq,
taco truck.
we can the taco truck is how everyone's eating.
Go exotic.
Right, but the taco truck is only serving Soylent tacos, and those are probably pretty disgusting.
They're stamped out, yeah.
So, yeah. All right. Well, I think that's a reasonable point to end on. So, Thank you all for tuning in, and we'll catch you in the next one.
Thank you.
Friday nights, around 8:30, 9 o'clock. Thank you, Professor Tomford, for gracing us with
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Thank you, Dr. Vader and Thanos.
We
the
appreciate
best
it.
guest that we have ever had on the show.
That's right. Best guest ever to be on the show. So that's helpful. All right.
My pleasure,
Thanks, guys. Take care.